Have you ever said something and instantly regretted it, not because it was offensive, but because it made you look weak, reactive, or unintelligent? Now imagine being in a room full of people who are quietly observing you. They don't judge you by your clothes, your job, or even your status. They judge you by your words, because your words are reflections of your inner world. And whether you know it or not, every time you open your mouth, you're telling people what kind of man you are. If that hits a little too close to home, then you're in the right place. Before we dive in, I need you to do two things. Hit that like button if you're tired of superficial advice and want to dig deeper, and subscribe to the channel if you're on a journey to become a stronger, wiser, and more powerful version of yourself through the lens of ancient Stoic philosophy. Make sure to watch this entire video because if you miss even one of these 7 things, you could be sabotaging your love life, your mental strength, and the respect you get from others. Let's build out some context first. Marcus Aurelius wasn't just a Roman emperor. He was a warrior, a philosopher, a man with unimaginable power, and yet he chose to discipline his mind rather than dominate others. He understood something most modern men don't. Intelligence isn't about how much you know. It's about what you say and when you choose to say nothing at all. So let's break down the 7 things an intelligent man never says, inspired by the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and the principles of Stoic philosophy. Of course, it's not my fault. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that when things fell apart, all you could do was search for someone else to blame? Maybe her, maybe life, maybe timing. I've been there. Her name was Mira. She had this way of smiling at you like she knew something you didn't, like she was already inside your soul before you even knew what hit you. We were in love, or at least I thought we were. Late night drives, long texts, whispered dreams. But then, something shifted. One night she looked at me and said, "I feel like you've stopped growing, like you're just coasting through life." And man, those words stung. You know what I told her? I looked her straight in the eye and said, "It's not my fault. I blamed the economy. I blamed my boss. I blamed my childhood. I even blamed her for having too high expectations. But deep down I knew the truth. I wasn't leading. I wasn't building. I wasn't the man I promised her I'd be." And that night, she didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just quietly walked away. That's when I found a quote from Marcus Aurelius that hit me like a punch to the gut. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Let me break that down for you, brother. When you say, "It's not my fault," you give away your power. You're telling the world and the woman you love that life controls you, that you're just a victim of fate. And I get it. It's easier to blame than to look in the mirror. But here's the thing. No woman wants to build a future with a man who can't own his present. Have you ever been in a relationship where something went wrong, and you immediately looked for a way out instead of a way through? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, "She's just being dramatic," when deep down, you knew she was just craving a man who could take responsibility? Let me tell you this. A real man, an intelligent man, doesn't blame, he builds. If she's pulling away, ask yourself, have I really been showing up? If you're not where you want to be in life, ask, am I waiting for things to change or am I the one who needs to? It's not about guilt. It's about growth. And growth starts the moment you say, maybe it is my fault, and maybe that's a good thing. Because if it's your fault, then it's also in your hands to fix it, to rebuild it, to become the man she and you can be proud of. Don't run from that power. Hold it, use it, and watch how everything, your confidence, your love life, your future, starts to shift. That's just the way I am. Have you ever looked someone in the eyes, someone you loved, and told them you couldn't change because that's just the way you are? Maybe it was during an argument. Maybe it was a quiet moment when they asked you to meet them halfway. If you've ever said those words, you probably didn't realize it then. But you were building a wall between you and the person who only wanted to love you deeper. I remember when Mira, same girl, looked at me during one of our late night talks. She said, "You get so defensive every time I try to open up to you. Why do you shut me out?" And what did I say? That's just the way I am. I said it like it was some badge of honor, like being emotionally unavailable was part of my personality, like she had to just accept it or leave. That night she didn't fight. She just looked away. And that silence, it said everything. Later I came across a quote from Marcus Aurelius that shook me. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. It made me realize something. Every time we say, "That's just the way I am," what we're really doing is hiding. We're hiding from growth, from vulnerability, from becoming the version of ourselves we know we're capable of being. And let me ask you, honestly, have you ever used that phrase in love? Like when she asked you to be more present? When she begged you to open up? When she needed you to grow with her, not just love her? Did you tell her you couldn't change because that's just how you are? Man, here's the truth. She didn't need you to be perfect. She just needed to see you trying. Growth isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you already are, without the fear, without the trauma, without the ego. And an intelligent man, a truly stoic man, knows that change is not a threat. It's a responsibility. Because how can you lead a woman, build a family, or walk through life with strength if you can't even look your own habits in the eye and say, "This isn't working anymore"? So next time you want to say, "That's just the way I am," stop. Ask yourself, is this the man I want her to remember? Is this the version of me that deserves the kind of love I crave? You're not a statue. You're not finished. You're a living, breathing, becoming man. Don't defend your limitations. Destroy them. Because real love doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for evolution. And if you're brave enough to grow, she just might stay long enough to witness it. 3. She should know how I feel. Have you ever sat beside someone you loved and stayed completely silent, hoping they'd just know what was in your heart without you saying a word? Maybe you thought she could feel it. Maybe you thought real love didn't need to be spoken. But let me tell you something that hurt me more than I ever thought it would. I lost her. Because I stayed quiet. It was a rainy night, the kind that makes you think too much. Mira was sitting on the edge of the bed, her back to me. She said, "Do you even love me anymore?" I laughed nervously. "What do you mean?" "Of course I do." She turned around, tears in her eyes, and said something I'll never forget. "Then why don't you ever say it?" I froze because in my mind I thought I was doing enough. I was paying the bills. I was being loyal. I was showing up. But to her, love wasn't just about presence. It was about expression. See, I thought she should just know how I felt. Because I wasn't cheating. Because I wasn't yelling. Because I wasn't leaving. But silence can feel like absence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." And yet I wasn't treating love like a privilege. I was treating it like a fact, unchanging, automatic, assumed. Let me ask you, brother, have you ever loved someone so deeply, but couldn't bring yourself to say it out loud? Have you ever held her, hoping the warmth of your touch would say what your mouth was too proud to express? Maybe you thought that being a real man meant keeping it all inside. But I'll tell you right now, an intelligent man doesn't hide behind emotional silence. He learns to speak, not in poetry or perfection, but in truth. You don't need to be Shakespeare. You just need to say, "I love you. I appreciate you. I'm proud of you. I'm sorry. I need you." Because women, especially the ones worth fighting for, don't just want to feel loved. They want to hear it. And if you're sitting there thinking, "But I don't know how to say it," here's the secret. Start with what's real. Tell her how she makes your day better. Tell her how you miss her when she's gone. Tell her how you're working on being better, for her and for you. Don't assume she knows, because the moment you think she can read your mind is the moment she starts feeling invisible. So if there's someone in your life right now who deserves to hear how you feel, don't wait. Say it before it's too late, because love left unspoken often becomes love lost. 4. I don't need anyone. Have you ever looked someone in the eyes, someone who loved you, and told them you don't need them? Not because you didn't care, but because you were scared to care too much? Yeah, me too. There was a night, cold, quiet, still. Mira had made dinner, candlelit, homemade, soft music playing. She looked at me across the table and said, "Sometimes I feel like you don't need me at all." And you know what I said? "I don't. I can handle myself." Her face dropped. And I swear to you, in that exact moment, I watched love leave the room. You see, I thought strength was about being unbreakable. I thought being a man meant saying, "I'm fine on my own." I thought needing someone made me weak. But Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What does not benefit the hive does not benefit the bee." In other words, we're not meant to do this life alone. Even the strongest man needs connection. And when you deny that, When you act like love is optional, you push away the very thing that could have made you whole. Let me ask you something, brother. Have you ever pretended not to care just to protect your ego? Have you ever told her, "I'm good," when deep down, all you wanted was her hand in yours, reminding you that you weren't alone in this life? I know how it is. We've been taught to man up, to carry everything, to never show need or pain or vulnerability. But here's the truth. There's nothing more masculine than honesty. And honesty sounds like this. I miss you when you're not around. I feel stronger when you're beside me. I'm scared of how much I need you, but I do. Because here's what no one tells you. When you say, "I don't need anyone," you're not protecting your heart. You're isolating it. And love? Real deep gut-wrenching, life-changing love? It doesn't grow in isolation. It grows in admission, in opening up, in letting someone in, even when every past wound tells you not to. You might think that pushing people away keeps you safe, but all it does is keep you alone. Mira didn't leave me because I failed. She left because I refused to let her be part of my journey. So if you're watching this right now, and you're with someone who wants to stand beside you, don't push them away just to prove you can stand alone. Let them in. Because needing someone doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And the day I realized that was the day I stopped losing people who loved me. I'll do it later. How many laters have cost you something you couldn't get back? A moment, a kiss, a chance to say the one thing you kept putting off? I used to think I had time. Time to fix things. Time to grow. Time to love her the way she deserved. But time has this brutal way of slipping through your hands, especially when you keep saying, "I'll do it later." There was this one afternoon. I remember it like it was yesterday. Mira had asked me to go with her to her favorite little bookstore. She loved old pages, worn-out covers, and the smell of stories waiting to be read. I was in the middle of answering emails, half listening. I said, "Not now. Maybe later." She smiled, nodded, but there was this quiet disappointment in her eyes that I missed. I always thought we'd have more Sundays, more time to do the small things. But the truth is, we never went to that bookstore together. Marcus Aurelius said, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." Read that again. You could leave life right now. Or worse, she could, or the version of her that loves you might fade away while you're still too busy. Let me ask you something, man to man. Is there something you've been putting off in your relationship, hoping it'll just work itself out? Saying, "I love you," fixing what you broke, planning that date you keep delaying? Are you banking on someday like it's a guarantee? Because I did. And someday never came. The biggest illusion a man lives under is the myth of later. I'll fix it later. I'll call her later. I'll be better later. But love doesn't live in later. Love lives in now. And you don't have to make some grand gesture. You just have to show up. Tell her you're listening. Tell her she matters more than that text you're typing or that show you're watching. Show her, through action, not delay, that she's not second to your schedule. Because one day you'll look up from your phone, your grind, your comfort zone, and she'll be gone. And you'll wish, God, you'll wish you could go back and say yes to that bookstore, to that moment, to that simple chance to make her feel seen. So if there's something you've been telling yourself you'll do later, do it now. Send the text. Plan the night. Hold her a little longer, because love doesn't wait, and neither does life. 6. It's not a big deal. Have you ever hurt someone you loved and brushed it off by saying, "It's not a big deal"? Maybe it was a small lie, a forgotten promise, a birthday missed, a look of pain in her eyes you refused to sit with. I used to say that line all the time. To Mira, to myself. We'd argue, and instead of listening to what she was trying to express, I'd cross my arms and say, "You're overreacting. It's not a big deal." And every time I said that, something small cracked between us. Not loud, not obvious, just a little fracture. The kind you don't see until one day the whole damn thing collapses. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Pay attention to what's in front of you. The principle, the task, the precision, the purpose." I didn't pay attention. Not to the little things that mattered to her. Not to the signals. Not to the moments when she needed me to lean in instead of shrug things off. One night I forgot our anniversary. Completely blanked. She had planned this whole night. Music, dinner, the same wine we drank the first time she came over. And me? I walked in like it was any other Wednesday. She didn't yell. She just smiled sadly and said, "It's okay. It's not a big deal." But it was, not because of the day itself, but because of what it meant. Because when someone loves you, they remember the things that matter to you, even if it doesn't matter to them. And when you dismiss their feelings, you're telling them they're not worth the effort. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a moment where you knew they were hurting, and you minimized it just to avoid conflict? Ever heard her voice shake, seen her eyes water, and said, "You're being dramatic," because you didn't want to sit in the discomfort? It's easier to act like things aren't a big deal. It gives us a way out, a way to avoid taking responsibility. But love doesn't grow in avoidance. It grows in acknowledgement. The man who masters Stoic strength doesn't ignore emotion. He faces it. He listens when it's hard. He leans in when it's uncomfortable. He treats the small things as sacred, because to someone else they are. So next time you want to say, "It's not a big deal," pause. Ask yourself, is this something I would want brushed off if it mattered to me? Because every small thing you dismiss is one more piece of trust you lose. And trust, once it's gone, that is a big deal. 7, that's just how I am. Have you ever used that sentence as a shield? That's just how I am. To justify your silence, your pride, your temper, to excuse not showing up for someone who just wanted to be loved a little better? I did. More times than I want to admit. Mira used to tell me, "You never open up." I feel like I'm dating a wall sometimes. And my answer? That's just how I am. I don't do emotions. But deep down I knew the truth. I could open up. I just didn't want to face what would come up if I did. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." But I had it backwards. I was strict with her, expecting her to understand, to hold the weight of the relationship. And I was tolerant with myself, letting my ego take the wheel, hiding behind the same excuse. That's just how I am. Let me ask you, man to man, have you ever told someone to accept you as you are when deep down you knew you were capable of being better? Maybe you don't communicate well. Maybe you shut down in arguments. Maybe you make jokes when things get serious. And when she asks for more, you tell her she's asking too much. But what if she's not? What if she sees something in you you've been too scared to see in yourself? Change doesn't mean losing who you are. It means shedding who you're not supposed to be anymore. You're not a robot. You're not a fixed version of yourself. You're a man who can evolve. And guess what? Real men grow. You know what hurt the most? It wasn't when Mira left. It was reading her note the day after. She wrote, "I wasn't asking you to be someone else. I was just hoping you'd try." That line broke me, because love doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for effort. You don't need to become someone you're not, but you do need to become someone who cares enough to grow. So next time you hear that voice inside saying, "That's just how I am," stop. Ask yourself, is this the man I want her to remember? Because at the end of the day, your story is being written by what you say, do, and refuse to change. And if that story ends in heartbreak, don't let it be because you clung too tightly to the man you were, instead of becoming the man you were meant to be. You're not stuck. You're just scared. And it's time to stop letting fear write your love story. An intelligent man, according to both Stoic principles and life experience, never says, "Of course it's not my fault." 2, "That's just the way I am." 3, "She should know how I feel." 4, "That's impossible." 5, "That's beneath me." 6, "I don't care." 7, "I'll do it later." Every one of these phrases reflects something deeper, fear, ego, or avoidance. And the more you say them, the more you become them. But here's the power of Stoicism. You can unlearn. You can rebuild. You can become the kind of man whose words reflect wisdom, purpose, and strength. You don't need to be Marcus Aurelius, but you can borrow his mindset, one phrase at a time. So which of these 7 have you caught yourself saying? Let me know in the comments, because awareness is where real change begins. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.